another episode of the Jess Get Hired podcast, your ultimate guide to thriving in your career and mastering the art of hiring. This summer, we're spicing things up with a new series called Spill the Sauce, and it's brought to you by our sponsors at the Spicy Gnome. If you're ready for a summer full of hot tips and juicy secrets from recruiting experts and career leaders, you've come to the right place. I'm your host, Jessica Fiesta George. I've been bringing you career advice for nearly 2 decades now, and I've been in the talent industry, and I'm here to elevate your career. And if you're a business trying to stay ahead, we also try to help you stay ahead in the hiring game. We're going to give you the sauce to stand your way through the noisy and messy job market. Make sure you subscribe, share with your friends, add Just Get Hired to your playlist so you don't miss an episode. Now, joining me today to spill the sauce is Dr. Kruti Lehenbauer. She's a seasoned pro with over 20 years in data science, and Dr. K is a business growth advisor, a guaranteed growth consultant, and a fractional chief data analyst officer. She's also a data whiz who loves uncovering insights to drive business success. She's authored 7 books. I mean, what has this woman not done? Okay, Dr. K, are you ready to spill the sauce?
Tell me what you need. I got
you. All right. Well, let's go. So let's kick things off. For those people who probably aren't familiar with your books or haven't heard about you, can you share a little bit more about yourself and your career journey?
Sure. So I'm a teacher at heart. So that's a big thing. That was like something I've wanted to do since I was a kid. And so I just kind of spent my whole life figuring out what I wanted to teach and who I wanted to teach it to. Learned quickly not to do that with kids. That's not my sweet spot. I don't have the patience. And then math was my thing. I always wanted to break things down into simple forms. Like equations, everybody teaches equations. What do they mean? Like, how do you use this stuff? And in that journey, I found my happy place in statistics because I could see patterns in data as a part of my education, trained in learning different types of models that can be created with different types of data, understanding those formulas that everybody hates so much, and being like, how can I use this meaningfully? So I look at data, I look at the patterns I see in that data, have the skills to create the models to test if what I see is real or just fake. And that's actually what I do for businesses of all levels. Statistics is a way to check if what you are seeing as a sample is truly representative of the true behavior of everything out there. So my passion is in converting those little samples into meaningful predictions, meaningful patterns, and helping businesses or individuals grow by maximizing on those metrics.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate people like you because when I see any type of numbers or even an Excel spreadsheet, it gives me nightmares. My brain doesn't quite process information like you do, and it looks like a foreign language to me. Someone like you with your skill set, I know much needed in business, and I'm so glad that you were able to also help educate other people about it because I probably would not have been your best student.
Hey, you will be surprised. Some of my best students were the ones who came into my class going, I hate everything that you do. And 2 of them actually went ahead to get a master's in data analytics.
Well, that was not me. I'm a communications major, so I'm on the other side of the spectrum when it comes to numbers, and I'm not your stereotypical Asian. I do not like math at all. I'm sure my mom and dad probably would have liked something better for me in my career, but here we are. But so speaking of data analytics, so you are a data scientist. What is data science, if you can break that down for our listeners?
So it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's a question of, it's the science behind looking at those patterns, identifying whether those patterns are truly meaningful or they're just happening randomly together. Because things can happen. If I suddenly start going out to eat a lot more and my neighbor's doing the same thing, it's not because we are competing with each other, but they're just random patterns that are following the same path. On the other hand, if they and I were close friends and we were going out together, then one of us is causing that for the other. And that ability to see what is just happening together because it's just meant to happen together
Mhm.
versus what is causing each other. Is there a causal effect? And if there is a causal effect, then up to what point is that cause claimable? Because,
Okay.
at the end of the day, as an adult, I can't force them to go out, eat with me every day. But if they're choosing to do it, there's something other than just me that's driving them to do it, right?
Okay.
So making sure that we are not putting too much weight on something that only has a little weight on why decisions are made a certain way. So this is a big thing in data science, is to identify which variables are actually causing changes and
Hmm.
which variables are just moving along with the changes.
Got
And
it.
you said you're a communications person. One of the things that is often overlooked in my field as data science or technology is we tend to dismiss the importance that people play
Mhm.
in changes. And that is one of those things that I have been trying very hard to combat, is when I
Mhm.
talk with leadership or my clients and decision makers, I'm always like, are your people on board? Because if they're not on board, none of this is going to work.
Well, so you mentioned you had two students that, weren't really in the tech space or, analytical. If someone is looking to break into tech, because that is like the big career trend right now, everyone wants to get into some form of technology with AI and everything else coming in. People want to get into this type of career, especially data science. I've been seeing a lot more of those. In fact, a lot of our companies are hiring for data scientists. How does someone potentially take that leap or prepare themselves for that type of career?
So, the first thing I would recommend to everybody who's considering that career is to overcome any potential or hidden fears that they may have about math. Without the basics of math, um, you're not going to make a successful data scientist, even if you learn how to code. Like, you can code
Okay.
day in and day out, but if you don't know what you're doing, you're always going to feel like you're unfulfilled or that
Mhm.
you're not really contributing. So I always tell people who are interested in this field to go back to the basics. Make sure you're understanding, what does data mean? I have a whole series of posted statistics is what I'm doing on LinkedIn right now. And it's just a question of showing people, including business owners, including people who've been even in my field for years. It's like, let's take a step back. Let's kind of revisit this definition, not the formula, but what does it mean? And the people who are successful in data science, in data analytics, in the coding are the ones who keep, I like to say, you keep grounded. You stick with the roots of where these things come from. Because if you know the roots, then you know how the growth process works. Now, if you're just going to look at the branches and counting the leaves, come fall, your landscape will change. But if you stick
Right.
with the roots, you're in there for a long time. So
Okay.
that's like the first thing that I would tell people is get confident, learn with the new modern tech and everything. There's so many platforms, so many different ways where you can get information,
Hmm.
and dig deeper, like 15, 30 minutes every day. Just learn something new, and be ready for the next step.
I love that. Well, that's super helpful. Well, when I think of tech or these types of roles, a lot of people lean in towards, like, of course, your traditional technology companies, financial institutions. Are there other industries or roles that people should kind of keep an eye out on?
So the big boom right now is the AI transformations, and
Okay.
it's the number one topic in pretty much every boardroom, every C-suite meeting. It's like, what are we going to do with the AI, right? Like, thanks to ChatGPT, everybody is suddenly on the AI train. But data scientists have been on the AI train for at least 50 years, because
Wow.
automation, training models to take given information, modeling them and then giving out meaningful information, that has been a part of what a lot of us have done, whether we did it with coding, whether we did it with calculators. It was
Mm-hmm.
the logic has always been the same. So one of the things that fits in beautifully with these AI transformations is the role of a data scientist.
Okay.
And that is the place where it's becoming easy to break into. And that's why I said learn your basics, because anybody can use chat gpt to be like, write me a code for doing this, but what does it mean? Or am I actually using the right data? Is my data clean enough? Can I tell a story with this data that is not flamboyant? Can I keep it simple? Can I break it down? So learning that translation, I think that is going to set apart the really good data scientists from the ones who are just mechanically doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the other part of it. If you have no passion for data, don't learn coding.
Okay.
Find your passion. Just because it's the most popular thing out there
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that if you don't enjoy it, you'll burn out very fast. And if you burn out in this field, you're going to get stuck because it's rapidly growing. If you're already in this field, if you're already learning to be a data scientist, or you're like an entry level person, now is the time to reach out to every opportunity you see out there, because
Mm-hmm.
you never know where you'll find your fit.
So speaking of entry level,
Mhm.
spill the sauce on how much people can make, because a lot of people are drawn to tech careers because they know how lucrative and how much money you can potentially make if you are on the right career path. What could someone who typically is entering your field kind of expect? I mean, I know it's going to be different based on size of company and the position, but I mean, on an average, what are you seeing?
So, for a very entry level position, one of the things that people in the United States need to remember is that they're directly competing with outsourcing. And therefore, at the very entry level positions, the pay may not be significantly higher than $50,000, $60,000 a year,
Right.
because you're competing against people who will do the same job for half or
Yes.
less.
Right.
But that being said, that hands-on requirement for a lot of coding, and so even a little bit of experience. So I would recommend to those people, even if you're getting in at a point lower than what you thought you would, get in, because the growth path on it is exponential. First couple of years you're still a newbie, you're still learning the ropes, but once you get past that point, once you get to that point of, hey, I got 2 years under my belt and I learned all these new things about this company, now I'm a valuable member of this team, the growth path from there on is very high and very rapid. So somebody in their mid-career could easily expect close to 200, between
Yes.
150 to 200K, depending again on the size of the company, etc.
Right.
But there are very few careers in which it's easy to reach mid-career quickly. And
Right.
because of this exceedingly high demand right now for data scientists, I foresee that in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see people who, with 5 years of experience, are now suddenly at a mid-career level, which you know, in our case, didn't happen that quickly.
Right. I know. We've had to climb our way up the ladder, and it is amazing to me. Like, we put in our sweat equity over the last, we're not going to age
Yeah,
ourselves, but the last few years.
yeah.
And people come in with less experience, making more than we did at the same age we were probably at our level of career. And it's just mind blowing to me. But that's just the way things are, and things are evolving. But to your point, if you stick in with the career, especially in data science or any type of IT, get your foot in the door, get it on your resume. It might not be what you want today, but man, it's going to pay off in the future. Now, you're not in teaching anymore. You're a fractional partner. Maybe explain what that means and a little bit more about your business.
Sure. So, what a fractional does is you're vested in the company, but you're not a full time employee of the company. And it is mutually beneficial because the company does not have to keep you on a full time role. Some of
Mm-hmm.
it is an advisory role. For instance, as a fractional chief data science officer, I might be working with the marketing department to help them figure out what data needs they have and what bridges they need to build to make their data work, or what model they need. But I don't need to be sitting there 40 hours a week observing them while they code. And I can do this because that's my niche. That's the data analysis, the data consulting portion is my niche. So I can do this for 6 different companies rather than just doing it for one company 5 days a week.
Right.
And benefits all those 6 departments. The fractionals are vested in their own departments, in their own fields, in their own expertise. They are empowered to make decisions and change the trajectory. But once the company is ready, then the company can decide if they want a full-time position, if they want to merge some of those positions, or they just want to continue with the fractional model and get 4 for the price of 1.
Well, before we wrap up, what is a piece of career advice that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Okay, this is a tough one. I saw that and sent it. The biggest thing kind of goes back to what I said. Find your passion before you pursue a career. I've seen more burnouts occur because people were unhappy with the path they've chosen. And I'm kind of going to refer to what you said earlier about, parents in our cultures expecting certain things, and you're not anywhere near that. But the difference is that you could have done my mom wanted me to be a medical doctor. I have a terrible bedside manner. I think I would have been horrible at it, but, and I didn't have any passion for it. So that wouldn't have helped. Versus right now, after 20 years in my career, I wake up in the morning and I'm enthusiastic about what I'm going to work on. And I think everybody, especially those that are just starting out or starting their careers, that's what they want to keep their eye on. Do they want to wake up 20 years later and be happy with what they chose, or feel like they're stuck and they have nowhere to go? Because when you're passionate about something, when you love something, then by default, you keep learning about it. Therefore, you keep growing, whether it's not just as a job, but as a person, not just as a title. And when you keep growing, then the world's your oyster.
That's very true. Well, is there anything you'd love to tell your younger self that you would do differently?
I would tell myself not to be so obsessed with being perfect, but rather focus on taking risks, making mistakes, and not worry about tripping up.
Yeah. Well, I feel the same because, I think especially the older you get, you just want everything to be perfect. But, you have to accept that not everything's going to always go your way. And I wish I learned that early on as well. But Dr. K, great sauce. I want to thank you for joining us today, sharing your invaluable insights for our listeners. If you want to learn more, check out her books on Amazon. We'll drop it in the show notes and I'll put it on my website, justgethired.com. I want to thank our listeners for tuning in. Remember, this summer, we're going to be bringing you the Spill the Sauce series, which will release every Wednesday. We're going to pack it with expert tips and insider secrets to help you get hired, get promoted, and get noticed in this very noisy job market. So don't forget, subscribe, share this episode with your friends, add Just Get Hired to your playlist so you don't miss an episode. I will see you next Wednesday for more spicy insights and career boosting strategies. So stay tuned, stay ahead, and thanks for joining us.